back to the Marvel Movie Minute, everybody. A daily podcast in which we dig in deep to analyze the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. I'm Andy Nelson from thenextreel.com.
And I'm Pete Wright, also from The Next Reel.
We're at the beginning of the MCU franchise, looking at Jon Favreau's 2008 film Iron Man. And closing out the week with us, Kathy Campbell is back, everybody, from Friends in Your Ears. Kathy, hey!
Yay!
We are looking at Iron Man Minute 85. The minute starts with Tony saving the plummeting pilot and ends with an angry Obadiah watching Rhodey's press conference.
Ooh,
Obadiah mad.
good alliteration.
So we start off with that, what we talked about yesterday, with that great shot over Tony's shoulder, looking down on the limp pilot. And then it immediately goes into the hero shot of Tony flying straight down, like full thrusters, flying straight toward the Earth. And he survives.
Yay!
Spoiler,
He survives.
everybody.
The
He
pilot
makes
survives, yes.
Pilot survives.
And
he
Iron Man
punches a hole in the thing.
survives.
I'm glad that he knew that that's what it would take to fix the ejection seat. If I just punch it here.
Punch this one thing. And as we know from yesterday, there are a number of different models of ejection seats. As you might discover if you search eBay, you can find all kinds of great ejection seats. Some of them have the handles over their heads, some of them between their legs. You were saying yesterday that this one is actually not quite correct, that the handle should be between the legs. How does Tony know, I'm going to punch this gizmo and that should fix everything?
Well, it's labeled, it says emergency manual shoot, so he knows that that's where you punch.
You're right.
I mean, obviously.
And because his HUD has PDF in it. Like he actually probably, No, you're right. You're right.
It's that whole thing. Superheroes, they punch things to fix them. And he knows if I just punch it, he doesn't have to help like pull the handle out. Just punching it will do.
Right. That's true.
Well, and he has a ton's worth of weight behind it, and yet somehow I am just so shocked so he's shooting down vertically and his other arm is behind him, but he's got, the Superman pose of the one hand in front, and he grabs something on the ejection seat and then manages to, against the force of gravity, not the gravity, but like the force pushing against his body, is able to bring the other arm around with enough force to punch that piece of metal.
Yeah. It's not like he's got a rocket in the back of his elbow that propels his hand into it.
Exactly.
Although that'd be nice to see.
And it's an interesting thing too, Andy, because you walked through yesterday in horrifying detail. If you missed it, go back to yesterday and listen to that horrifying detail about what happens when the ejection seat actually ejects and all of the things that happen in 2 seconds. And that gave me no end of anxiety. But this sequence, we actually see a couple of things happen that it feels like wouldn't happen in just from him pushing that thing. I don't know, maybe I'm reading it wrong, because he pushes the thing. The parachute deploys, but it doesn't look like the parachute from his back. It looks like the parachute from the seat, but then it is the parachute attached to him because he separates from the seat all in one motion. And that feels like it's a continuity issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. It happens so quickly that I don't think anyone could argue that the continuity's off, because it's so fast. It's like if you're watching it frame by frame.
Yeah. And as we've argued, that's a mistake. Don't do that.
Don't watch it frame by frame.
Yeah. Although I think the visual of having a parachute with a body dangling from it is way more visually stunning than the chair dangling from
limp chair.
Yeah.
Well, that just feels like you're taking a break.
Yeah.
Like that just feels lazy.
It's the lazy boy lander.
You're not parachuting, you're riding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a ride.
I feel like these shots where we're up close with our pilot as he's falling in his chair, I feel like these are the reasons that Tim Rigby ended up getting cast as the aerial stunt coordinator, and likely is doing all of this stuff because of these shots where obviously they're not actually dropping him from a plane, but they probably just have that seat on a rocker and they're just under it, kind of looking up at the sky to just kind of get the motions and everything. Or it could just be under a green screen. Who knows? But it still ends up working, and I feel like all of that, even just the way that Iron Man keeps falling while the pilot and the chute just kind of pop way up above us. It still is just super cool to watch.
Absolutely. And
it's very cool.
I like that they used Tim Rigby because he probably knows what it's like to fall. So he can act that believability of the rocking, and so who knows if the chair was attached to something or if it was just him sitting in the chair on the ground while they're filming and he's throwing it back and forth, or who knows what they chose to do. But either way, he, I'm sure, has fallen a variety of times.
Yeah.
In a bunch of different ways, and so would know how best to have that work.
Right. The one thing that I don't know if I should question it or not, but everybody back at the ops center is thrilled to see Iron Man save the pilot. But the last time we had heard from Major Allen in the last minute, he had told his pilot, if you get the chance, take him down. And even though Iron Man saves the day, in the script, they still attack. And they shoot at him again, and he gets hit or it's a kind of a close call missile explosion again with the flares. And he disappears from the screen, and that's kind of the last we see of Iron Man in the script until we get to our deleted scene that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Does that make more sense, or does it make sense that he saves the day, everybody at the op center is thrilled, they all cheer, and then the pilot just doesn't go after him?
That's really interesting because, he does. I think from the story point, Andy, I think that we need the hero shot at the end where the plane peels off and Iron Man gets to do his flippy dippy loop-de-loops as he flies across the Afghan desert. And that gives us a nice tight 5 on this sequence, and it does not make any sense at all why they're not still trying to shoot him down, because from the pilot's perspective and from everybody else in radar control, all that except for Rhodey, all they know is that he's still a bogey. He's still a bogey. That they don't know that he's the one who actually fixed the parachute, right? All they know is that a parachute deployed. And Rhodey still hasn't come clean.
Well, I'm assuming that Whiplash 2, if he was actually engaging, because we hear Jarvis say he's re-engaged, get out of here, but Iron Man's like, no, I'm going to do this. I feel like Whiplash 2, if he's actually, targeting him and trying to do him, I'm sure like he's seeing this flying man come down and deploy the chute. So I feel like he probably witnessed it. But
I have a hard time believing that he can see with enough detail and clarity what is going on between these two man-sized things falling through the air.
That's true.
To be able to discern what to do next. I don't believe that.
Well, especially because he has probably no way of knowing that the parachute wasn't deploying like that. The deployment of the parachute wasn't 100% planned. He has no way of knowing if that chute was because Iron Man came in and punched it.
This is one of those things, because we see Iron Man save the day. We see the pilot fly up into the air and Iron Man kind of fly off. We cut to the operating center and everybody looks like they're watching this on big screen TV, right? It looks like they're watching what we're watching, because they're staring so intently at these screens, and they all cheer and they lift their hands up in the air like their team scored a goal. But really, they're looking at those really crappy satellite UFO pictures, and it doesn't make a lot of sense that all of a sudden he's off out of the woods, because nobody probably saw what Iron Man did here, but he's off and away, and and weirdly the other pilot veers off and flies off. It's an odd choice, but I think this is one of those. It's kind of a movie trope. The audience, it becomes these guys, and we're now cheering with them. And in our heads, it doesn't matter that it doesn't make any sense because we're just excited that they're all on the same team now. And Iron Man proved it.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And
because to them, he still looks like the Windows 95 mouse cursor on that screen. Like, it's just, there's nothing has changed about that.
Yeah. Shout out to the double fisting hand pump dude at second 10 on the far left side of the screen. He's got this like boxer cheering thing going on. And he chose that was going to be his excited like thing. And he just went for it.
I love that.
He's all in. When you're working at Central Command, you are all in.
It's interesting. We talk about the HUD quite a bit. When Rhodey gets back on the phone with Tony, we see the heads-up display, and I like that it shows an image of the airplane that he damaged, and it like even goes so far as to show the wing that got injured. It kind of like turns it red.
Yeah. Jarvis has all the information.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, it's all the information. And then you notice the picture just right before that, the picture of Rhodes that Tony has in his address book is Rhodes in a suit. Yeah. And I just want to call back to the picture that Rhodes has of Tony in his LG phone, which is like Party Tony. I don't know what that says.
Well, because I don't think
there's a hidden message in there.
Yeah, I don't think serious Tony in front of a white like photo backdrop lighting thing is something that happens very often.
Probably not.
Whereas,
true.
You know that Rhodey has all sorts of publicity and press headshots.
Yeah. Right. His official military photo.
Yep.
But at least, put the Tony picture of the one on Wired magazine.
Right. No way, because it's the Starkster.
That's right.
He
doesn't need his LinkedIn photo.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys have anything else with this, or should we jump into the next scene? We've got the press conference.
Yeah.
Press conference.
So this is it's a transition that happened. Actually, we should do the deleted scene as part of this transition. During the shooting of this, Robert Downey Jr. improv'd this whole thing about this press conference, and Jon Favreau thought it was such a great idea, or just a line, that he's like, "Oh, we have to pay that off," and so that spurred the story on to become cut from him flying away to a press conference. The whole thing of just do that, and Favreau thought it would work much better than apparently what they had. And I don't know if it's the only reason, but it is the reason that we don't end up having this final deleted scene here, which is the closing of the Dubai scene. At the end of we had the Dubai scene, I don't know, probably 10 minutes ago before Iron Man goes into Gulmira. Here we have kind of the end of that as Pepper wakes up and she hears some sort of sound, and she walks through rooms full of sleeping guests and ends up coming into a rather fancy kind of dining room with Tony in his suit, legs kicked up, having a drink. And he's just like, "Get me out of here." And it's really kind of he's bloody, he's injured, he's tired, he's just sweaty and gross looking and exhausted. And weirdly, it just seems like there's nothing fun about it. He seems really kind of I don't want to say dark, but it just seems really heavy. And it's an interesting close. It's an interesting reveal, I guess, for Pepper to find him this way. I don't know. What do you guys think of this whole thing?
It really we had a conversation about this a couple days ago or yesterday. I don't even know. What's today? What's going on? About the humanity of it, and how, why doesn't he have a concussion? Why doesn't he have, all of these G forces that are pushing, as well as ab strength and core and all of that. And I can see why they chose to do the press conference instead, but the humanity and the human superhero that is witnessed by having Tony bloody, beat up, exhausted. You lose a little of the humanity for not having this scene in the movie.
I'm really torn about this scene for that very reason, because I'm, speaking of the call for humanity, like I really like that question of, what does it look like when inside the suit when Tony gets beaten up? And I think that this scene gives value to that. The problem is that this scene is payoff to a joke that started and was so bad. Like the opening scene in Dubai was so bad that, you can't have this scene. So we're missing something of the heart that I think is a powerful addition to the movie, having this cut. But in this case, the simplest joke won out, and that was the training accident, which is a simple joke. It's an easy chuckle, and it gets us back to brooding Obadiah's face.
See, I almost wish that they had done. So obviously, I wasn't a part of the first part of the Dubai part, but I did watch that deleted scene. I think they easily could have just had the scene of, open up my house in Dubai, we're going to throw a party. And then maybe like entering in, or like some sort of visual shot of this is what the house in Dubai looks like. And then have just this last bit about Pepper sleeping, everyone's exhausted, like passed out. You could tell that there's a party. Like you don't have to see the party to know that there was a party here. And then having that humanity foundational scene of Tony exhausted in the chair.
Right.
Feel free to hire me, Marvel. I am available.
Right. Yeah, I could totally see that. I get that point, and I to maintain some of the continuity of the heart and the specialness that is this Iron Man character. Like I think it's value to have that there. But the simple joke one, and that's some of the bittersweet kind of nature of this movie, where the simple joke wins out at the expense of something that is of greater and more interesting value.
And even when we come back to the scene next week in one of our minutes, when Pepper does discover him in the Iron Man suit, it's played much more for laughs than it is here.
Yeah.
I wonder if this had been not the first Marvel movie, if it had been like something else that has come and like built this foundational snowball effect of these incredible movies, if they would have chosen the humanity side as opposed to more serious and then the joke as well bit, because they're still playing with the format. They're still trying to figure out what this Marvel Cinematic Universe is really going to be.
Yeah.
But I will say they really do like the humor.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I think that's something they really have gravitated to, and it's proven successful. So I feel like if there's an opportunity to do something that's probably the funnier version rather than something that has a little more seriousness to it, I feel like more often than not, they're probably going to go with the funny bit.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah. This deleted scene does get replaced by this press conference, as we've said. I couldn't figure out where they filmed this, but my hunch is, based on the wall behind Rhodey, is that we're back at the Massimo building, which is the location that is doubling as Stark Industries. It is funny, and this is something, as we've said many times, Favreau has these great transitions. That whole idea of the press conference, that's, that whole thing, and then we cut to him doing this press conference. It works really nicely to get the joke, and it's pretty funny.
It is funny, and it's a great transition. Like we've talked about some of the time and space transitions that Favreau uses with the Star Wars wipes, the radial wipe and the that sort of the wipes that we are familiar with in this sort of fantasy storytelling. This one gives us a perfect, just straight cut, like hard cut to black for less than a second, but that black is part of the joke. Like it's part of the gag that we have that line from Tony, and then we have a second and jump into the press conference in motion is great visual storytelling for the humor.
Yeah.
And the time, it just adds to the timing, and it's just perfect. Finger kiss perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
the microphones in front of Rhodey, the station identifications actually are Jon Favreau's birthday, 10/19/66. And
no
it's
kidding.
kind of a little nod that he did there just to kind of throw that in there. The 66 is kind of tricky because it's actually channel 6, but you can see on the cube, you can see two sides in that first shot. You can see the 66. So
Nice.
I was trying to figure out, I figured that none of these stations were real, and they aren't, although there is a real KPFW. It's except it's in Dallas, and it's affiliated with the American Auction Network. There is a real KPGB, but it is a religious radio station up in Montana. There is no real station KHEJ, but weirdly, there is a town in Afghanistan named Kedge, I guess is how you'd say it. Although sadly, it's not in the Kunar province. How perfect would that have
That
been?
would have been so
Totally.
perfect.
Yes.
And then the last one, the channel 3 that we're watching, KNKV, it is not a real station, but weirdly, there is a KNKV, and this is just so funny. It took me down a strange rabbit hole. It is the Royal Dutch Korfbal Association in the Netherlands.
I'm sorry, what?
Have you guys ever heard of korfball? This is a sport I knew nothing about.
Is it a relative of Quidditch?
I mean, I went to the Olympics for korfball.
Korfball is a ball sport with similarities to netball and basketball. It is played by 2 teams of 8 players with 4 females and 4 males in each team, with 8 players on each team. The objective is to throw a ball into a bottomless basket that is mounted on a 3.5 meter or 11.5 foot high pole. It's been around since 1902, and there are like national world championships and all this sort of stuff for this sport I've never heard of before.
Huh.
Korfball.
Wow.
The more you
Wow.
know.
I will say, I love that it is a sport that actually is gender equal. It's men and women playing on the same team.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Balance
So-
it out. Andy, how much did you say the Raptor cost in your research a couple of days ago?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. The Raptor, the F-22, cost $412 million to make.
So this one was only 84 million. So,
This was the cheaper
Yeah.
version.
This is why the ejection seat didn't work.
well, was your research like the creation of the first F-22 versus like this is a couple years down the line?
No, because
This is the one made by Tesla. With
they
all the
were
robots.
very expensive. That's why they stopped, because the F-35 was cheaper and better. And these were just so stinking expensive that they couldn't keep up the cost. They ended up spending billions on these. As of 2011, they had spent $66.7 billion on the F-22 program.
Wow. Well, that shows the level of journalistic rigor going on at KNKV News. That there was such a gap in their lower third crawl. But also, this is the thing that you took us down the road of korfball, but I got to go back to the lower third, or to the bug in the lower right corner, the 3 KNKV. That just looks so much like kinky to me that it makes you think that Obi is watching the news on like this is like a porn break
Right.
or something. Like it's not. There's something else wrong with where he's getting his news.
Watching his news on Kinky 3. Oh, that's I don't know what. I don't know if I want to be thinking about that with Obadiah.
Yeah, let's not.
Well, all I can say is you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Happy Monday,
Boo.
Friday. Happy Friday.
Yeah, we do cut to Obadiah, who is watching this press conference, as we said. We get some, I think this may be the only time we really see his pad, but it looks like it's a pretty fancy place he's got here.
Also, he's watching in his pajamas. Can we just taking a step back to the channel that he's choosing to watch this on? He's in his PJs with a robe.
Look at the detail of the pad, and I'm going to come back to the PJs because there's some important things going on with those PJs that we're not going to lose. The first is, I think, on the table behind him, is that a picture of Howard Stark and him? I'm assuming
Probably.
it is, arm around him.
I think it is.
And he has hair. And we have a lot of the tribal fetish objects around him. We have some horses, looks like maybe some Trojan horse. I don't know. Is that another? What did I do there? He's got the chess on his table with booze.
That's an important part, the chess set, because in the comics, he is the leader of the chessmen. That is his team that he assembles that fights Tony for quite a while. So it's kind of a nice little nod.
Oh, I love that.
That he's got the chess set here and that his robe kind of has a checkerboard pattern on it.
Okay.
And in the close-up, just appreciate that Obadiah Stane is a guy who puts on his PJs and pops the collar.
Well, of course.
What?
When you're watching your daily porn news, you you have to pop the collar.
You always pop the collar.
Always pop the collar.
Only Obadiah can get away with that.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Obadiah bit, and he doesn't even open his mouth.
Boy, does he look cranky here. He is not happy.
He's mad. So mad.
Yeah.
Does this tell us he's a full-on bad guy now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that he has a zebra rug, I mean, that right there gave it away.
That's a really good point. Like the production design of his, Sanctum Sanctorum here, that changes the tone of Obadiah Stane for us, of the character. And it really does. You wonder if they're like, okay, we think we have an ending for this movie now. So let's go back to Obadiah's place and we're going to really gin it up with some tribal stuff and the zebra thing. And we're going all in on him being the bad guy.
Major bachelor pad that's also very dark, very ominous, he's got his drink tray on the coffee table, which says a lot about like access to the alcohol that's been decanted into the pretty glass jars. Like he doesn't want to have to stand up to go get it. He's got the fireplace. He's got these statues, the black leather and the brown wood, and just like very, very deep and dark and.
And he's totally a guy who mounts his giant flat panel TV in a wooden picture frame.
Right? With a
evildoers
model,
totally do that.
A mantelpiece with fancy little tchotchke things underneath it.
Yeah.
All right. I want to mount my TV in a picture frame and put it in like panel wood walls. And nothing says bougie.
Right.
Right.
What I love is that right in front of the TV, it looks like he's got his own little action figure collection.
Yes, on the right side.
Right on the right side there.
Prepping for Black Panther.
Yes.
Who's in that picture? That old picture. It looks like.
Is it his mom?
It must be like a grandmother or something. That's like a really old picture. That's like 1900s or 1890s sort of photo.
Yeah, right. I mean, it definitely is it's an antique. It's like something from Women in Science in 1850. I've tried. There's like who is it? Like Nellie Borden or. There's somebody. I swear that picture is something.
Oh, that would be interesting if it is.
Or Lizzie Borden. It was the axe murderer, Lizzie Borden. Maybe it was Lizzie Borden. Yeah, it definitely feels like an 1892 axe murderer. That's who I was thinking of.
So that was an Easter egg nod for those who would recognize the photo to say, "Oh, he's the bad guy because he's related to Lizzie Borden. She was his great grandmother."
He's got some Lizzie Borden fan fiction, and he's all in. Lizzie Borden.
I don't think I have anything else specifically for this. Do you guys have any other notes?
I don't.
No.
So, Kathy.
Yes.
Were you...
Let's get serious.
Yes.
Yeah, it was time to get serious. Were you a Marvel follower before all of this? Did you ever read comic books? Were you into the previous Marvel films? How did you end up coming to Iron Man? What was your experience?
I have never really been able to get into comics. I read too fast, so it always felt very disappointing to me I always felt like all I was doing was turning pages whenever I would attempt to read comics. Additionally, all of the decades and decades of backstory and having just like it's always felt kind of ominous, like, oh, I just can't put that effort into it. However, I greatly enjoy movies. I enjoy them as a separation from whatever media they may come from. So I can usually enjoy both like a book and the movie that's made from it. Like I can enjoy like Harry Potter, for example. I can enjoy the books as a separate creation outside of the movies. And I am very glad that these movies are around so that I can learn a little bit more about the backstory of Marvel and the comic book characters and stuff. And so learning things like the chess pieces for Obadiah, it's really interesting to me because I love the stories of comic strips. I love how intricate the plot lines are, how connected everything is. You know, you may have a character that 4 or 5 books down the line, you learn that they're related to this other character because of whatever. It can be very convoluted and overwhelming, I'm sure, but I like some of the culture behind comic books and the fans of them and the people that can rattle off all of this information. But these Marvel movies and Iron Man in particular really help welcome a new generation or world, maybe somebody that doesn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend to buy comics, and really enjoy the
hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is an extraordinary collection.
There's about every comic book
that
made.
and an ejection seat.
Right, to read them in.
Right.
Yeah, however much. See, I don't even know how much people spend to purchase comics. I don't know how much they cost.
Oh. Well, I think that's right, and I think it's great to hear because I mean, obviously people are coming to it with different experiences, but they're creating a cinematic world here that I think anyone can enjoy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a hardcore reader to actually, get everything that's happening.
Yeah, and there's the added things for the quote unquote real fans or whatever you want to call it. But like, if you are a fan, you'll see those things that have been added because the people that are making these movies know why they're making them, and they know like, oh, the hardcore fanboys will want to see chess pieces around Obadiah.
Right.
But it's not placed in a way that somebody coming in that has never even heard of who Iron Man is, they don't feel left behind. You don't come into it and get overwhelmed and you're just like, no, I'm not going to see this anymore because they're judging me or any of that.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. And I think it does help as people kind of work their way through the universe and they don't have to feel like they're, left behind. So,
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's so much of the gift of what the MCU has done is it has made these things so accessible, right, to the entire new audience. And that is, I think, what gives the MCU longevity is that even when it does, like we talked about, it goes for the simple jokes, it does so in service of bringing new people into the fold.
Yeah.
Who otherwise love and appreciate these characters.
Yeah.
Right. Have you been watching all of the films, Kathy?
Yeah, I have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'd have to pull up a list of Marvel movies.
Of the 20.
Yeah.
There's just a few.
Yeah, just a handful. But
Yeah.
I've seen most of them. I've seen a lot of them in the theater. I've seen a lot of them as well. Like when they come up on streaming, I'll usually watch them too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have favorites?
I have there. Wow, words. I really,
as we fully acknowledge, favorites can change at any moment.
yeah. When it comes down to like, I love Thor as his Avenger. Like I love what they've done with him. I don't love his movies as much. Like, I like when they have Thor in other parts.
Okay.
I love Captain America and I love his movies, especially when you have Captain America Civil War that comes around and is basically Avengers 2.5 or whatever. I love Benedict Cumberbatch and I love his Doctor Strange. Like, that's been really great to have him. And so I can go into these movies not really remembering anything that I've seen before and really just enjoy them for the happy end of world jaunt that they are. And it's been fun to have my daughter enjoy them too. She's 10 and she likes superheroes, and I love that it's okay for her to like superheroes. Like, society is kind of adjusting to where she's not being stigmatized for being a nerd or whatever, you know. And she can like Black Panther and she can like, Ant-Man. I don't know why, but yeah, she enjoys that. It's fun.
I don't know why she like that one.
But like the campiness of it means that they're all enjoyable by however you come into it, however far you're embroiled in the stigma and the story and the plots and all of that. And it's just fun. And that's okay to have really fun movies that also talk about other things.
I love them. They're fun movies to watch. I agree.
That's why you're going to watch them minute by minute.
That's how we're going to piece. Yes. Tiny bite by tiny bite for a very long, for the rest of my life, basically. We'll be doing this. Well, Kathy, it has been so much fun having you all week on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited that I have been here with you this week, and excited to continue listening.
Well, and hopefully you'll come back next time when we're talking about The Incredible Hulk.
Yes, please. Wait, does that mean that? Okay, I might be able to do The Incredible Hulk in just 5-minute spans of time. I don't know if I can watch the whole thing again.
You only have to watch 5 minutes if that's all you want to talk about.
Let's just say you're not the first person to have that response.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, well, you want to remind everybody where they can find you one last time?
Absolutely. My username pretty much everywhere is Mrs. Soup, and you can find links out to everything that I do, including a variety of podcasts at kathycampbell.com.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, that is it for today's show. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show for free at marvelmovieminute.com. Join us over in our Discord chat room and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Next Reel. And if you like what we do and you want to support us and get some cool stuff, become a patron over at thenextreel.com/Patreon. Until next time, true believers.